Alright, so this is something I may have done before in my previous streak of uploading. Most of the videos are gone now. But I want to talk about One Piece a bit because it's on my mind. Basically, I'm going to talk about my prediction for the Straw Hats versus the Blackbeard Pirates. What matchups are we going to see? Now, I have it written down on my phone here, so I don't forget. So I don't forget names, because I'm going to forget someone. Second, I am assuming Yamato joins the crew before then, between now and then. Also, manga spoilers. So, if you aren't caught up with the manga or you're an anime only watcher, be gone. Be gone. Be gone immediately. Oh, who am I kidding? No one's going to watch this anyway. So, let's get the easy ones out of the way. Luffy Blackbeard. Luffy may punch someone else in the face, but let's be real. Luffy's going to fight Blackbeard. That's how this goes. Zoro Shiryu. They gave Blackbeard a guy with a sword. There's not a world where that fight doesn't happen, I don't think. Usopp Van Augur. Let's be real. The fandom will rage if that fight doesn't happen. And if you ask me, Chopper Doc Q. It's being set up more and more, especially since we got the reveal of his devil fruit. It's being set up more and more that, yeah, he's going to fight Chopper. And arguably, I'd say for a lot of Straw Hats, this is their last fight. Where Blackbeard's crew is the last enemies of the series. Or it's someone else. I'd say for a lot of them, this is the last, real fight. Now, for the rest of these, you can probably switch around and you're probably about as on the mark as I am. This is just how I see it. First off, Sanji is going to fight Jesus Burgess. They put Jesus Burgess pretty high up there. I don't see him fighting anyone else. It's also interesting because that technically means Sanji's fighting the second in command this time, instead of Zoro's fighting third. But arguably, you could say the Shiryu is stronger. Debatable. I think it depends on what field we're talking about here. I don't think it's much of a difference, to be honest. But I think Zoro fighting an invisible man is far more interesting. Though I don't think the final matchups will be the only interactions we get. I'll explain what I'm thinking later. But for right now, Sanji fight Jesus Burgess. That's Sanji's main fight for this. Even if he does kick someone else in the mouth before then. Kick a couple other people before then. Nami versus Lafitte. Because I'm going to be real. Lafitte's the only one I could see Nami beating. Also, Lafitte's a creep. Nami kicking his ass would be poetic, maybe, would be the word. I don't know. I just think that he's the only member of the Blackbeard crew I can see Nami possibly beating. Also, I could see it being a really cool fight. Now, some of these others are debatable. And you can swap them around quite a bit, I would argue, with the last batch especially. Robin fights Katarina Devon. Because I don't remember who said it, but I agree with the guy who said that that's basically her perfect matchup. I agree with that, but again, Robin could take on pretty much anyone except for Kuzan. Also, this is assuming Kuzan doesn't betray the Blackbeard Pirates and isn't part of Sword. And this is assuming we take everything at face value. and Kuzan is just a member of the Blackbeard Pirates now, and that's what Kuzan's doing. Jinbei fights Vasco Shot, especially with the recent reveal of his Devil Fruit. I think that fight is probably the most interesting thing, because Vasco Shot has some sort of fruit that allows him to control alcohol, and alcohol versus water, that just, I think we could get a really cool waterbender fight from Avatar, but in One Piece, which is really the only reason I want to see it. I think we might get that. Franky versus Sanwan Wolf. Because let's be real, there's two options for Sanwan. It's Franky in a giant mech, or it's Jinbei in the water. That leaves Brooks to fight Avala Pizarro, which makes about as much sense as anything, though, again, you could switch a lot of these around, because I'm going to be real, it makes about as much sense as anything, and if Franky's busy with Sanwan, because let's be real, it's him or Jinbei to take down Sanwan. I don't see anyone else being able to do it. You can make an argument for Robin, but I think Robin Katarina is a more interesting fight there. Chopper's tied up with Q. You could move Nami to take on Sanwan, but I don't see how Nami take down Sanwan. I don't really see how Nami take down anyone who isn't Lafitte, even though I think Brooks versus Lafitte is arguably the more interesting matchup long term. And then Yamato fights Kuzan, assuming Kuzan doesn't betray. In which case, I could totally see Brooks getting left out of the fighting entirely, being relegated to taking on henchmen, and Yamato takes on Avala Pizarro. Or Yamato takes on Katarina, and you could switch her and Robin around, and have Robin fight Kuzan. But I don't think Robin takes down Kuzan. Yamato, assuming it is Yamato who joins, and assuming she joins sometime after Egghead, maybe, Yamato joined back up. I think Yamato fights Kuzan. Is the only one who has a real chance of taking on Kuzan. Because I'd argue if her powers being ice-based as well, maybe she has a certain level of immunity to it, or at least resistance. Now, I am going to talk briefly, because the way I see this going down is Blackbeard is going to get the last Rogue Poneglyph first. We know Blackbeard's heading, at least some members of Blackbeard crew are headed towards Egghead, assumably to get something. And we know Blackbeard is making moves. He attacked Law, went for the Op Flute. He's been going after other Devil Fruit. He attacked Boa Hancock, which, fuck him for attacking Boa Hancock. Just putting that one out there. Especially recently, we've been learning that Blackbeard been making moves. So, my assumption is that him and Luffy's collision course is going to happen sooner rather than later. And I've become more and more convinced they aren't the last fights of the series. Because I'm becoming more and more convinced now that the final war is going to be primarily focused on the world government and the Marines. And I think Shanks has something to do with it, but that's a conversation for another day. But basically, you could switch, especially aside from 4, you can switch any of these around. Sanji could be fighting Avala Pizarro, for all we know. You could switch Franky to fight Avala Pizarro, have Jinbei fight Sanwan Wolf, Yamato fight Vasco Shot, Brook fight Lafitte, and I can't say you're wrong. We won't know until the fights happen. But my assumption is the Blackbeard Pirates are going to be, for a lot of the Straw Hats, their last real fight. Aside from Zoro and Luffy, are the only two I can say for sure have another fight after that. Because if Luffy hadn't fought Akainu by then, him and Sabo are going to tag team Akainu. Because Luffy and Sabo will take down Akainu. I think those two tag team him. I think that's how that goes. And Zoro obviously has to fight Mihawk at some point. I don't think Eam is Luffy's enemy. I think Eam is a dragon thing. I think we will see Eam fight, but he's going to fight Dragon and maybe Shanks. I also think it is entirely possible Luffy and Shanks have a fight, though I don't think Shanks is a bad guy. I just think they're going to meet at some point, and Shanks is going to be like, alright, prove to me you're strong enough to keep that hat. Show me your strength, Luffy. Prove to me that you're strong enough to keep that hat. And it's just going to be him and Shanks have a duel. The rest of the crews don't even get involved. It's just the two captains having a duel. I don't think Shanks is a bad dude. Even though he completely wrecked Kid, I don't think Shanks is a bad dude. Also, I'm going to note this. I don't think any of the admirals get taken down one-on-one. I don't think Kuzan stays loyal to Blackbeard. I think he will betray Blackbeard. And I do think Kuzan's a member of Sword. Still. I would be surprised if he stays loyal to Blackbeard once Blackbeard's real goals come out. So, I am simply going on face value because that's easier for this particular conversation. But, again, you could switch a lot of these fights around. I just think Frankie San Juan or Jinbei San Juan is the only one that makes sense. And I think Jinbei Basco shot is too perfect now. I think it better with the reveal of his devil fruit. I think Jinbei fighting Basco shot would be too cool not to do. So I think that really only leaves Frankie able to take him down. Because let's be real, Brooks is not going to take down. You can make an argument for Robin, maybe, and move Yamato to fighting Devon. But even then, I think Katarina is almost too perfect for Robin. So, there's that. And I do think the Straw Hat will be involved in fighting the animals, but I don't think those are one-on-ones. I think those are like 2 and 3 people at a time are fighting each admiral. I don't think the final war is going to break down to a bunch of one-on-one fights. If that makes sense. Anyway, I'm done. Ta-ta.